there was scarcely any communication. There was scarcely any knowledge transfer. So people who could travel wide, have connections, and then bring those products and services to that city actually flourished. It was more of a trading and more of what do you call bringing markets closer. That was the approach at in the 70s and 80s. Then came the manufacturing push, right? Entrepreneurs who could actually manufacture something could actually make it big. That's when a slew of manufacturing companies came in, and this slowly translated into IT services. And uh, we, or rather myself, I've lived through my entire life seeing these IT companies grow up, these services grow up. So people who could give technology-based services actually grew up. Now comes an era where startups are the growth sector comes where people who could give value. So value is the key. It doesn't matter if you're bridging the gap, or it doesn't matter if you're manufacturing, or it doesn't matter if you're giving service. So all the 50 years put together is in this one single point where people who could give value actually grow bigger. So having this in mind, having this as a startup, let's see what are the opportunities that are abundant in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Number one is tier 2 is largely untapped, except for all the unicorns who have started and they have come in and they have set up shop over here. There hasn't been any real problem solving of the tier 2 citizen. There's a distinct problem, a set of problems for the tier 2, tier 3, and the villages. These problems have never been addressed by, no, I wouldn't say any of the unicorn. Most of the unicorns haven't addressed these. So this is a great opportunity for us to look at value where others haven't actually gotten. And number two is the ecosystem, right? Like I wouldn't think initiative like StartupGrind would be possible 5, 7 years ago in a town like Madurai. But now we see that this is the need of the hour. So there's a lot of ecosystem. The universities are geared up. The government, both the central and the state government, are always talking about numbers about startup. They're talking about what is the next big push. So the ecosystem is very conducive in that sense. And the other one is come what may. We are in this pandemic situation, but I don't think even in this situation there's any doubt that India will grow. Right? There might be a flat, there might be a dip overall, but I think the only way India can go is upward because of the sheer number, because of the knowledge base which we have in India. There is going to be tremendous growth going forward. We are talking about a negative growth of 10% this year, but that's due to the pandemic and maybe it's a one-off situation. But going forward, we'll go back to our old ways of at least 4 to 5% growth, if not more. So that's an opportunity. And the other one, which is an opportunity for us, is the mindset of people is actually changing. You can see people not very aversive to being an entrepreneur, right? Earlier, 10 years back, 15 years back, the risk-taking ability was there, but then the social taboo which came along with it of not being branded as a successful entrepreneur. You always wanted to be a successful entrepreneur. If there is a slip, then the society sort of looked down upon us. So that was a social taboo, which I think is slowly going away, but it's just on the halfway mark so far. So these you could talk about many sectors where you have ample opportunities. Especially, you can talk about the agri sector. You can talk about native services. There are a lot of nativity which is being highlighted, which is in the limelight of late. Post-pandemic, we are talking about Ayurveda. We are talking about food as medicine. We are talking about the olden ways of living. We are talking about what our ancestors have taught us, what we have missed so far. So all these things which have been forgotten along the way is actually coming into limelight. So these are points where an entrepreneur, a wannabe entrepreneur, can actually find a value for the customer, and there are huge opportunities lying ahead in these sectors. And so far, all opportunities, or all unicorns, or all startups, or most of the startups have been technology driven. If you look at statistics, nearly all out of all the funded companies, nearly 60 to 70% of the funded companies have been IT based or technology driven companies. So the other sectors have naturally been not been in the limelight, have not been actively looked upon, and it's the right time for tier two and three uh, people, for us to take it forward. So you can see a lot of opportunity coming up. The ecosystem is good. There's a lot of untapped market. The market is growing, but is it all rosy? I don't think so, because I'd be wrong in saying that everything is rosy, and the need for an initiative like Startup Grind itself is that, right? There's a gap, and somebody's trying to bridge the gap. That gap is what is preventing uh, entrepreneurs from actually taking up newer ventures, what I think. There are two distinct things which I wanted to highlight over here, and I wanted Mr. Bhaskar to actually ponder upon this. Obviously, one, everybody says that there's no investment in tier two and tier three. Whatever investment which comes in, actually the ticket size is very, very small in tier two and tier three. That is the ground reality now. So people, what's happening in tier two and three is people are so used to evaluating and funding tier one tech-driven companies that beautiful ideas which blossom out of tier two and three are actually brushed away. You see, I've rarely seen startups which have been funded, which are in the ideation or the validation stage. So a young entrepreneur who has a very good idea comes up. There aren't many people who actually want to fund him or her. And there's this young entrepreneur who actually has a product, has a service, which is really good. He wants to test it out in the market, but he or she needs that money. And even then, I find it rarely that funding happens over there. Funding happens only in the third stage, where there's already validation, there's already a set of customer base, and there's already a set business model. Only then investments start to happen. This is a very, very unfortunate situation right now, not just in tier two, tier three, even in tier one, but in tier one, it's slightly lesser. So that's all over there. So let's not worry about it. Money is there. As long as we are able to put in the effort, money will come. But the second thing is what I find even more challenging for everybody. For a good startup ecosystem to function, I think all the stakeholders have to be knowledgeable to an extent, right? How often have we seen people claiming to be mentors? But actually, when you go in, they themselves haven't had that kind of knowledge to be a mentor. By this, I'm not demeaning them. I'm just trying to say that whenever you go and want something out of the mentor himself, herself has not gone through that cycle. Maybe they have been successful in their entrepreneurship journey, but entrepreneurship is not being just successful. People who fail a lot, people who have learned a lot, people who are willing to change their mindset actually become better mentors. So there's this lack of mentorship, and there's this lack of what do you call validation of mentorship. Now, where do you go validate a mentor? Unless otherwise you know which company or which person that mentor has actually mentored, and then you get a reference from them. There's no database of how effective a mentor is, or rather, let's just leave mentors. Let's talk about incubators. Let's talk about universities starting incubator cells. Let's talk about government organizations who claim to support startup cells, right? So when you look at them, the, especially the government cells, the intention is definitely good, but the knowledge level, the process which they have is actually, I think they are a couple of decades behind. All that the process is towards lending money rather than enabling startups. So that's a big letdown. So in order to make that up, I think organizations, bigger associations will have to have a framework where all the stakeholders are actually educated. We have a lot of educative sessions for the startups, but unfortunately, there's nothing for the mentors. It's up to the mentors to actually educate themselves, right? So that's a big negative is what I feel. And the second one is in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. I've seen students. I've seen quite a few colleges having very good incubation cells. But then when that student wants to become an entrepreneur, there's this social taboo again, where the parent comes in and actually says, why do you want to make my son or daughter to be an entrepreneur? Why not he just go out, be an IT guy, earn 25, 30,000 a month, and just lead his life, a normal middle class life? Because uh, even today, all these budding entrepreneurs are mostly first gen entrepreneurs, right? So when first gen entrepreneurs come in, there's this iota of doubt, not in the entrepreneur's mind, not in the person's mind, but friends and family around him or her. So this taboo can only be corrected when there's somebody to lead by example. By leading by example, I mean that, like how Bhaskar sir said, there should be success stories. There should be a lot of success stories whom we can relate to. I don't talk about a Flipkart, I don't talk about an Ola, because that's so far away from us and we are not able to relate it. I want to see a success story in Madurai. I want to see a success story in Trichy, Salem, Tirunelveli. Towns like these, where you can say, oh, you see that guy who dropped out of college and became a successful entrepreneur. That's my friend. That's my family. So these kind of boosts are which will actually give the traction which is necessary for the society as a whole. So this is the right forum which can bring that up, and I'm sure this will happen over a period of time. But these challenges still do remain. So I think I'm actually taking a little bit of more time. So let's make this a little bit more interactive, and probably there are some questions. Let's take it, and then I'll just sum up what I wanted to just say.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Neethiraj, for the complete outline about the ecosystem here. especially in Madurai, I could connect whatever you have told with it. So that is so interesting, and you have broken so many beliefs.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And so I think this is a time that we can start the fire chat here. And the first
Yeah,
question,
sure, sure.
yes. Shall we? Okay,
Definitely.
yes. So, so nowadays we are seeing there is a rapid development in the technology. Like even by sitting in our home, we can connect with anyone and with any mentor, and we can connect with any buyer or seller or anything. So the distance becomes shrinks, and it extends the accessibility and reachability is very much wider in nowadays because of the development in communication and technology. So my question here is there still a need for tier 2, tier 3 to be classified as if anyone can, that is now people are saying it's the entire world is a global village. So is there really a need for this classification? And if yes, what are you thinking like?
Yeah, good question. Uh, I don't think the ecosystem actually needs to be classified as a tier two or tier three. But what happens is there are some unique opportunities and unique challenges to each town or city, right? So even though the mentorship or the funding all happens through the cloud, happens through any distance, but the business actually happens in a particular city or town, right? So the classification, I think, is based on uh, uh, where the business originated or where the business is actually growing and thriving right now. You wouldn't call Amazon or Flipkart as Indian company anymore, right? Flipkart, Amazon is never an Indian company, but Flipkart, you wouldn't call it. It's gone global. So at some point in time, all startups break all these barriers, but there are certain startups which have this nativity, which have these roots to tier two, tier three, which still have to be classified as tier two, tier three. Otherwise, distance is no more a question right now, especially after the pandemic, right? We are also used to seeing us virtually.
Okay, okay, thank you. And so here, especially in, I think we can classify Madurai as a tier 3 town. And what are the sectors having, as you said, I think during your keynote address, you already specified as the native sector, that is the native products and services, which are still unexplored, but still many in many towns and cities, those kind of businesses taking, that is many entrepreneurs are kickstarting it already. But still, I'm asking specifically in Madurai, what kind of native products or services can be explored? Can you please point out few of the things?
Right. Yeah, sure. Uh, like uh, let me give you an example which I came across recently. Right, there was this startup which is in I think in Kolpatti or even down south. Right, that's this person who actually gives newborn baby service. Like the total thing sounds new, right? So what's this newborn baby service? So every culture, every community, every sector of people actually have different customs for the newborn baby, right from tonsuring the head, right from naming ceremony, right from all these the tie-ups which you do, right? And all this is uh, actually forgotten, long lost. But what this person actually does is he has documented all this beautifully, and he offers this service to all the newborns. So what he does, he approaches families who are just expecting newborn kids, and he explains how her grandfather had actually named him or her. What was the tradition? And he offers that for a very nominal fee. This would be done for that child. So he has a whole basket of all these traditional items, which happens over a 2 to 3 month period, right? There are different small functions, and he enables them to do this. So this is a wonderful thing which ties up culture, services, and nativity. And I'm not sure why anybody will deny this offer for a nominal fee. So this is just an example. So this is on the culture. I'm sure that there are a lot of hills round about Madurai which have all these herbal trees and shrubs which are long forgotten,
Yeah.
and there are these native food which is long forgotten. So there are a host of other services, other products which are long forgotten. I think if you can explore that, that would be a great idea. Instead of just being a replica of already successful model and falling into the same gut, right? You would see somebody doing something successfully in Chennai or Hyderabad or Bangalore, and then you want to replicate it over here. I strongly suggest let's not do that. Let's not do that. Let's try to do something which is original, which is very close to our heart in our towns. That way, it'll have an even more bigger reach, is what I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a great answer. I think we have to either we got inspiration from different cities and different entrepreneurs through the media. Anyway, we have to customize the product or services according to the place we are living in. That's a wonderful perspective. Thank you. And here we are seeing during this pandemic, many students here are really they have started their business because of they are not going to the colleges really. So they are sitting at home, then they are having a lot of time here, and also they also want to make money. And for such kind of students, how can they pursue it, pursue their business continuously? That is, pursue in the future. That is because now they are able to make money, so they got some idea about what's business is. I think so. To make it as a successful and to carry on to the future, what are the
Yeah.
things they need to do?
So, see, to learn swimming, I think you'll have to jump in, right? So they've done the right thing to actually jump in right now. But what is even more important is to be persistent. That's what I think is sort of lacking with many of these student entrepreneurs. They start something, and somewhere because of other social pressures or because of their other concentration, they ultimately do not be very persistent in whatever they do. So persistence is the key to actually becoming successful, and execution is a discipline. So ultimately, only when you execute something, whenever you actually bring into life what you think, that there are ideas are dime a dozen, right? So anybody gives an idea, everybody can give you an advice. That's what they say. But then when you go into the market to execute, that's when you learn a lot, because there's no entrepreneur who has succeeded in his or her first venture, and there's nobody who has not changed their business model. Everybody who started something has ended up with something else. That's because they have executed, they have been in the market, and they have heard feedback. Only you get your hands dirty, you get more ideas. So be in the market, go out, do things, fail a lot, and ultimately you'll succeed. That's what I would like to tell them.
Oh, that's great. That is very motivational thing, and also I think it gives very much clarity for the students who are listening here. And yes, and you have rightly mentioned that when someone is starting business, they have to look for the mentors, and they know how to validate the mentors. So, what are the criterias you can say on how to validate mentors? Any significant points can you mention in here?
Right, right. See, validating mentors is a very tricky one, right? Because it's not like an Amazon product where you see 4.5 stars by 1,000 people, and then ultimately you think that is the best product and you go ahead and buy it. Uh, mentorship is more like a marriage sort of thing, right? So it's a personal connect between you and that person. So whenever you go out and you miss out that personal connect, and then ultimately the whole direction of your business actually changes because of that. You know, I've seen people who actually are very into the whole thing, that they're more of friends rather than a mentor mentee. So they're so into this, and they take this as their own baby. Instead of giving just ideas and sharing their knowledge, I would want to see a person who actually motivates you to go that extra bit, right? Knowledge, I think he'll ultimately bring it and give it to you. But the person who actually pushes you is, I think, is the right mentor, at least for starters. You'll know that, when you are there, and when you are in that moment, you'll know that. So I strongly suggest that don't just stick to the first one. People usually make that mistake. Like, they want a mentor, they somehow get a connection, meet somebody, and then they think that person is the ultimate mentor, and that's whatever he says is ultimately the best thing. Don't do that mistake, and it's never wrong to cross verify. A mentor says something, you want to verify if that is correct. Please do talk to others. It's ultimately your business. You will have to verify it, just like how you do with a doctor. You get an opinion, you always go for a second opinion. Please do that. Yeah.
That's wonderful, because it gives a very much clarity about, because many people are believing that well-wishers are mentors. Okay. So that
Right.
gives a very good clarity. And I think so. In this, we specify the world as a VUCA world, right? Like volatile, so the complex and ambiguous. Like, so it is a highly uncertain world. So in such kind of situation, in tier 2 and tier 3 cities are not exceptional, I think. So we are seeing many, during this pandemic situation, many startups has emerged. So I strongly believe that any crisis can create new opportunities, definitely. So what do you think about how well the entrepreneurs here are addressing and resolving the pandemic issues and turn it into opportunities?
No, there's a slew of startups in with regards to the pandemic. If you actually did note that, I didn't um, actually say pandemic as an opportunity during when you asked what are the new opportunities which presents itself. I didn't actually say that. I was actually tempted to say that, but I strongly believe that this is just a change in way of life rather than the whole business model itself, right? The business model more revolves into what people need. Now, only the delivery mechanism is actually changing right now. And the whole opportunity comes in the health awareness sector, and the people being more paranoid about being clean, right? It's more about being paranoid rather than being thing, actually being in the same level. So there are opportunities which presents itself because of pandemic, but I don't think it is the ultimate business model if somebody goes in only with this. It's a good starter. And as I said, just go and start with this. Keep your eyes and ears open. See what customers react to the product or service which you're giving because of the pandemic, because it's going to evolve. It's not going to stay like this. Things are going to change over time. So when you evolve that, then ultimately it'll become a good business model.
Lovely. Okay. So now I got some idea out of it. Thank you. And there is a question from a participant, Ramadan Ramasubramania. He has asked you, like, is there any framework?
Yeah.
Is there any framework which is very transparent for a startup ecosystem, where anyone can assess themselves where they stand and what the support available in the ecosystem and what to do next? So it's a very elaborate question. I want to just split it into two. So is there any framework which is very transparent for a startup ecosystem, where anyone can assess themselves where they stand.
Right. See, I'm not sure why you should assess yourself where you are standing right now. In the sense that if I am a startup, I would rather uh, try to figure myself what I would be in 3, 5, 7 years now, how big I'm going to be, and vis-a-vis what I'm doing right now. So the whole benchmark actually differs from person to person, or startup to startup for that matter. It all depends on your journey. You will have to have your own framework. You should have your own milestone. Not everybody's milestone is the same. Not everybody's milestone is the same. This, I'm saying, leaving out uh, uh, things like whatever framework right now gives, in what stage of a startup you are, whether you're in an ideation stage or a validation stage, or all that are just what do you call MBA talk is what I strongly believe. Every entrepreneur has to map his or her journey, and that is actually the template for assessing yourself in what stage you are. I'm not, because this question has been written. I didn't get the tone of what you intended to ask, but hope I have answered you. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, I think Amudan, you got the answer.
And just adding to it, there are many frameworks, but just don't go all flat out for that particular framework or for that particular thing, right? It's all just for guidance. End of the day, the framework should be your journey mapping. That's what I meant.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I think he got it. Thank you. Yes, he has said many thanks to you. Yes. Okay, thank you, Amudan, for the question. And
Thanks.
so next here, we have been seeing many startups. That is, we can't say even startups. Many people having business ideas, and still people are thinking like business ideas. People, that is, investors will give funds. So still, we can create awareness with people to make, that is, to initiate entrepreneurship with so many people. We are doing so many awareness programs because even the government is encouraging people to start to make a startup and everything. Still, people are not clear about what you said in during the keynote address, like what is ideation stage, what is the validation stage. If I'm having the business idea, I can get funds. So that is the great myth people are having. So what are you saying about this?
Right. Like you say, idea is not everything. If there are two people, one who has an idea and just wants to validate that idea, and the second person who actually doesn't have a very great idea. Probably he's taken a rough idea out of somewhere. Somebody else has done it, and then he takes it and he actually runs fast. I would personally back up that person who actually runs fast. I'm coming back to the old the one which I said previously. Ideas are dime a dozen. With the advent of internet, with the advent of communication all over, ideas spread fast. Ideas are everywhere. But what do you do with that idea? Are you persistent with that idea? Are you willing to sacrifice something for that idea? Are you willing to run all your life for that idea? That is what is matters, right? So when money,
So I think Neethiraj, your audio was muted. Can you please unmute your audio? Yeah.
Is it okay? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay now, but the video is not visible now. Some network problem.
Some network problem. Has he gone out?
Yeah, I think so.
He's here.
Okay, we'll wait for a few minutes to let him sign again. Shall I make a call to him?
No, yes, I think he has gone. Senior.
That was very interesting that he explained about the difference between there is the journey of an entrepreneur in the the idea about ideation and validation. We are looking for Mr. Neethiraj to check in again.
No, I think he's already here. But somehow is.
I think we have to make this a presenter again. Yes.
Yeah, presenter mode is off. Is it okay?
Can you enable it? Bhaskar sir?
Yeah, you can do that. One thing.
Again, I couldn't.
I'll get us host. You can't do that?
I think he has been made as host.
Something has gone wrong.
Oh, sorry, everybody. I was all along in the meeting. Suddenly, I was not the presenter or anymore. I could hear you, but
Sharmila, I think
I couldn't speak.
Sharmila, I think yours also on unmute. Please check.
Yeah. So where did you lose me? You were asking about. No, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Please check it. Yeah.
Yeah, can you please continue, Mr. Neethiraj?
Where did I?
Yes, the question was about idea and validation, and you have explained with the example.
Ideas and I was saying about the ideas are dime a dozen, and people who run actually get the money, right? Was I audible when I said that?
Yes.
No.
Last few lines we couldn't hear.
Lastly, but I think all said and done, ideas need to be validated, right? That's where initiatives like StartupGrind actually come in, right? They can guide you to the right people where you can check your ideas and check what else tweak you'll have to do it. Before you run, actually check your ideas with people whom will actually give you a good feedback, and then start running. Don't keep talking about the idea for a long time. Keep running, and nobody will give you a better feedback than your own experience. Only when you get into the market and do something about your idea, you get more clarity. Anybody can give you advice, nothing like life or experience.
Thank you so much. And there is a so I think we have been seeing in media, like so many startups at the earlier stage, they got very much exposure in media. Like that is a 12 years old, 13 years old, 15 years old has made a startup like kind of thing that is really motivating. And after a few years, whether they are really pursuing the business or so what happens. And the reality is many startups got vanished after a stage. So how to make it as that was a question we have already asked, I think, but still so I think entrepreneurship is a skill to be explored rather than make it as a career. Entrepreneurship rather than make this entrepreneurship as a career. Shall we make it as a have it as an entrepreneurship skill? So the skill can be substituted as when the college students are getting to the job or something. This skill, I think, the skill really helps in many aspects. I think. So what do you think about that? Is it a life skill kind of thing? What's the experience business?
No. I slightly differ from that. Entrepreneurship is an art. It's not a skill. It's definitely not a skill. It's an art. Like it's like when you're at the helm of it, it actually more feels like a magic, when you can see something which others cannot see, when you can do something which others say you cannot do, right? So that gives you the kick. That's the vision. That's the uh, point of do or make or break for an entrepreneur, right? When you get that kick, when you that kick when you make something new, right? So that's the one thing which no person on earth can actually do. You can talk about all the
Your voice is breaking, Mr. Neethiraj. Actually, the voice is breaking. I couldn't hear you well.
it's okay.
Yeah, now it's fine. Yes,
Yeah.
it's
So nobody can teach you an art, right? You can go to any number of schools, you can go to any number of forums, you can gain the knowledge. But then uh, it's that point when you create something new, when you get that satisfaction that you have done something new, good, effective, that keeps you going. That makes you learn more. That makes you do more. So that has to be internal, like that can never be taught or given to an entrepreneur.
Thank you. That is a wonderful answer. Thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, there is one more question from the audience. So after this, we can close the session, I think. So is that tier 1 cities give better network for a startup while tier 2 has an advantage at the expenses? So which would matter more for a new venture? So I'll read the question again.
No, I got a question. See, I think it was answered right in the first question when Mr. Sharmila actually asked, does it matter if it is tier 1, tier 2? Because the distances have actually shrunk because of all these virtual meetings and virtual tools which we have right now. So it doesn't matter tier 1 or tier 2. It matters where your customers are, where your idea or where your value proposition will have the most impact. So that's the place where you have to pitch in, right? So it doesn't matter where you are, what you do right now. It matters where your customers are. So go to your customers. Everything else will fall in place.
Thank you. And Piyush Chandra, I think you got the answer from the speaker. So, okay. So I want to ask one more question here. Like the technology, as you specified during the keynote address, so many technical startups are keep coming now. And still in agriculture, that is agro products or agri business or the food industry. I think the technology is unavoidable now. So do we need to classify technology business and other kind of sectors? Is that really need? Because everything is, we can't separate a business without technology.
Right.
We
Right.
really
See,
classify that.
technology is a tool. Technology is a tool. Technology can never be a value proposition. So you have a value proposition, you have a value to give to your customer, and technology can enhance it. Just technology cannot be the business at all, right? Era has gone. That age is over. So you don't just fall in for technology just for the sake of technology. It has to enhance something which you already have. Only then it'll actually matter. So,
Thank you so much. And finally, and so you had been an GC, that is Governing Council member, and also the core committee member for us for at least 20 years, I think, almost 20 years. And you know the pulse of the tier 2 or tier 3 towns of the entrepreneurs here. And really, what do you want to say to them? Like, you know, about what are the struggles they have faced and what are the opportunities they have missed out, they have been missing out. And so what are you, before finishing this session, what are you really want to say to them?
Right. See, I see a lot of multipreneurs coming out of tier 2, tier 3 so far. Like they're part of a business family, and that person wants to start another venture of their own. That's how it's been so far in tier 2, tier 3 cities. The new entrepreneurs, the younger entrepreneurs have this taboo on the big question mark falls before them as to where their life is going to go if they fail in entrepreneurship. Let me tell you one thing. You're out of college, you start a venture for 3 years, and you don't earn anything. The venture is a utter failure. Let's just take it at that. But then when you go back to your corporate world, if you want to go back to a job, then you will be at least 2 to 3 years ahead of your counterparts, whoever have just worked for 3 years, because that 3 years of failure would have actually given you immense knowledge, which the corporate world actually wants right now. Why I'm telling you now is I'm not asking you to fail. I'm not asking you to go to a job after 3 years. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this as a comfort to you that life ahead of a failed entrepreneurship journey is actually very good. So don't ever worry that you will fail out of something. Just go for it. Have a time frame in your life. Take it one at a time, but do it with passion. If you don't have passion and then you just throw away 3 to 4 years of your life, don't ask me. If you have passion, take it. Take the risk. There's no time like now in India in tier 2, tier 3 cities as it has been ever. So do it with passion. Whatever your idea, go into execution. And I'm sure that you'll be successful. So that's what I wanted to tell them all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Neethiraj, for answering all the questions very patiently. And so it was, we really enjoyed the chat with you. And thank you so much for your time and knowledge you have shared and everything. Thank you so much. And all the, hope some of the participants who have asked questions, I hope they also got the answers. And now I invite our director of StartupGrind, Mr. Bhaskar Permal, here to deliver the thank you address and closing remarks.
Okay.
Over to you, sir.
I think you have already said all the thanks. Anyway, so first I would like to thank the StartupGrind headquarters for allowing us to start a chapter in a city, small town like Madurai. So as I said in the earlier, the opening remarks, I think we can do, do a wonder, and we will try to make a real ecosystem in these small towns in and around Madurai. That's the objective of this chapter. And first, my thanks to the community managers based as far as India is concerned. Beijing is the headquarters, and I thank the community managers based there for all the support they have given to start this chapter here in Madurai. Then I thank Sharmila for accepting my request to be the host of this session, and I also proposed a name as the co-director for this chapter. The process is going on. Very soon she will be officially onboarded as the co-director of this chapter, and I think she is the right person more than me. She knows a lot and she will do a lot. And A special thanks to my friend, more than the speaker, I will call Mr. Neethiraj, a friend of mine, who has immediately accepted my request to participate in this event and spare some time and all those. His valuable time. I spent a lot. I think he has done a great homework before coming here. His speech, his answers tell that he has done a lot of homework. He has done. Thank you, Mr. Neethiraj, for joining us. And a special thanks to the participants who have come, who have participated in that. And I think in the coming days, there will be more interesting speakers and more interesting special sessions. Yeah, I assure you that we will bring you more interesting speakers and interesting sessions, and at least once in a month. Thank you all. Thank you, Sharmila, once again. Thank you, Neethiraj. Thank you.
Thank you, and all the best to both of you.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
I have recorded the session. I will send to you later.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
In fact, they have